Condalilla. We're gonna go waterfall hunting. See if we don't know. It's a bit dry here in Australia at the moment, so we're not sure if it's gonna be running.
See how we go.
See how we go. Yeah. Can you smell that? Someone's been having a good time. That's a big sucker. The view just through there. That was some advice. Has found some boulders in here that he's speculating could be good for parkour.
In my mind.
I feel like Tarzan's just found his home.
Yeah. Up, lunge. Yes.
Dip in. What do you think, Shaun?
Man, this is mad. Going into the jungle.
Welcome to Hunchy. This is the pool's needs a bit of love. It's a bit green. I've been here for
Oof.
a little bit. There's my pull-up bar. This is the tricking zone.
Tricking zone.
Line. Jacuzzi.
Get some flyaways happening.
Oh,
So we're gonna film our podcast later. She's a bit frozen over. Oh my god!
That looks really cool.
It is really cold.
It's ready.
Alright, so Azza has a bit of an ice bath set up. I've never done an ice bath before, so this is gonna be the first time. I'm gonna aim for 2 minutes. See how it goes. How long can you stay in for it, Az?
10 minutes.
10 minutes in the ice bath. I don't know. I reckon my first time I'll probably bail out in a minute, but I shouldn't set expectations. I should just see how it goes. We're gonna do some we'll do some Wim Hof breathing in the warm up.
Wim Hof. Yeah, we'll warm up with some Wim Hof breathing, and then we'll jump in the ice.
Jump in the ice. Man's got good taste in music as well. First time, buddy.
2 minutes going.
Deep breaths.
Breath. Send the heat when you need it. Beautiful. Good work. 10.5. Beautiful.
First one up. How'd you go?
Contracting.
Come out, get some horse. That's it. Get warm. Beautiful. 2.5 minutes, man. Wow.
Okay.
Woo! Come up, man. Get some horse. Yeah. You got this. Let's go. All good. All good, Shaun. You got this, Shaun. Stay with the breath. Here we go. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. That's it. Good man. Awesome, man. Steady flow. Beautiful. Send the warmth when you need it.
I want a minute.
That's a minute. Keep breathing. There it is. Minute 30, you got 30 seconds left. Keep breathing. Breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 minutes. Woo! Yeah! Yeah! Oh, boys. That's it, man.
Oh, you need the chance so far, don't you? It's not a joke anymore.
You guys feeling?
Amazing. I don't need another coffee.
Oh, so stoked you guys. So good, man. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming, eh? Awesome. Love having you here.
Yeah.
Cheers it up.
Cheers.
Bold. Alrighty. Wanted to bring you on the podcast. We've been spending the last couple of days together, been on our end of year retreat for a sort of self-development, business, I guess mentoring group that we've been in together, which gave us the opportunity to meet each other. We're up here on the Sunshine Coast. Whereabouts are we?
We're in Hunchy, to be exact, on the Sunshine Coast in
Yeah.
Queensland,
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah, and I don't know, we had a retreat in Newcastle, my hometown, earlier on in the year, and I feel like we interacted a little bit online, and I don't feel like I got a great chance to like connect with you a lot in Newcastle, but from this weekend, I'd been following your stuff online, and your energy is just like, it's there, and it's hard to deny that you have this like special energy, and I'm here staying at your house now. We've had this epic day, and I just wanted to hit record and have a conversation with you because you have so many epic stories, you have an epic journey, and although this is kind of a parkour podcast and you've dabbled in parkour a little bit, but you're a movement practitioner, and there's some really awesome parts of your story that I think are super valuable for the parkour community. Just as the lead with it, you're 38 now?
38, yeah.
38.
Yeah.
And there's just this energy that you have that, as John, our mutual friend and mentor, explained, it's not a childish nature, it's a childlike nature, right? You navigate through the world in this way that we all hope that we can be like as we're sort of edging towards the 40s. And the crazy thing for me is that you started your movement practice at 34. So you've been doing movement for about 4 years. And for one, you're an absolute beast.
Thank you.
And for two, from the conversations that we've had, you've explained that you feel like you're still progressing upwards.
That's right.
You're not stagnating at all. So I just want to let you talk about that and maybe introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
And just talk about that, really.
Sure. Well, welcome, and it's been awesome having you in my home.
Yeah.
And so I'm a lawyer by career, which no one ever picks.
Yeah.
Because for the last 4 years, I've been focusing a lot on movement, meditation, breath work, and these sorts of modalities that have come about to help me relieve some of the stress that's come from being a professional and some of the side effects from being a desk jockey, and under enormous amounts of pressure. So I guess my traditional background was in, rugby and rugby league and that sort of thing as a kid. And eventually that led me to some traditional weightlifting and strength and conditioning type stuff. But about 4 years ago, by chance, I came across the movement community and just totally changed the way I looked at my physical practice. And from that, started to dabble in meditation and breath work, and we got a chance to jump in the ice bath today.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you would have noticed at the start of this podcast, this is the tone I want to take with the podcast from now on, is give a little bit of context of the people that I'm going to be interviewing. So hopefully you enjoyed that footage that you saw before this. Have had an awesome day, had the opportunity to jump in the ice bath, do some Wim Hof for the first time. And one of the things that really resonates with me is that, as you said, you've moved into this whole practice, and you have been within this like traditional workforce, right? Like the thing that we're told, the structure we're told to do, right? We leave school, you've gone to the extreme of like becoming ultra successful. You're a lawyer, how long did you study for that? What's the law degree for that?
Well, it's been a train I've been on since I was 16 years old, and a career counsellor came to me when I was 16 and handed me a form to fill in and said, you have to choose what you'll be doing in 2 years' time at university. And, all I loved doing then was chasing girls and playing footy. So it was confronting, and I'd seen a Tom Cruise movie, I think, the night before, and he drove a red Ferrari and was banging supermodels. So I thought, lawyer sounds good. So I ticked the lawyer box. And off I went. I was 17 when I went into uni, and I got on this train. And really, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And uni was a lot of fun. And, it was 5 years of study. But I had a lot of fun along the way. Then I got a job, and I started, you have to almost do an apprenticeship in law. And so I got started with that. That's a couple of years in. And then really, you don't know anything for about 5 years in law, so you get going, and I got a mortgage and bought a BMW and bought some expensive suits, and I never seem to have any money because I'm spending it all on all this lifestyle stuff to impress people, and away I went, and the train just gets quicker and quicker, and I just felt like it was pretty hard to get off, to be honest. And I'm still on it, almost 20 years later. So it's been a long journey, but about 5 years ago, I had some pretty major life changes. So change in relationship, a marriage breakdown, which can be side effects of this pursuit of material pleasure, and not thinking too much about my internal world or my physical practice, which I neglected for many years. So after that came crashing down, I was forced to reconsider my life, where I lived, how I treated my body, how I treated my mind, how I treated my soul. And all of a sudden, these things that I loved as a kid came back to me. Jumping between rocks like we did today up at the waterfall. That was fun again. Yeah. And I thought, what do I like doing? I like the stuff that I loved as a kid. I loved doing flips and cartwheels and jumping off stuff into water. Yeah. And so it's for the last 5 years, it's almost been about a renaissance back into what I loved as a kid and bringing more of that into my life. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Wow, there's so much there. Where do we go from here? It resonates so much because I get so many people message me over the years that express these feelings, like especially like even one of my best friends, Anand, he was a pro athlete. He didn't start until he was 20, right? He didn't start parkour until he was 20. And then managed to build like to one of the most recognizable people in the sport. And so I know already that you don't need to start at 5 years old to be great, right? But for you, it came even later, right? And as we briefed at the start, you started your movement practice at 34, and you're getting stronger, and you feel like you're still progressing in that. Like, what do you say to anyone that's like 23 or 24 that like feels like they're too old to jump into it?
That makes me laugh because they're puppies. They're puppies. I don't feel like I'm an old dog. I feel like I'm a puppy. Yeah. And I am. I'm a pup. And I did my first backflip, at 35, on my mum and dad's lawn. And my dad...
Baby, 35.
I was 35.
Yes.
And there was an old mattress in my dad's shed, and I've pulled it out. And, when you've had some trauma and you've gone through some shit, you start to think, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. I'm not going to wait until I'm too old to jump. I need to jump now.
Yeah.
And, I got my dad, and he pulled the mattress out for me. And I said, just stand there and sort of help me if I need it.
Yeah. Is that stuff like on Instagram or anything?
I've put it on my Instagram.
I'm gonna like put that here right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like steal it off your Instagram and chuck it on right now.
Yeah. And I just started going for it. And it was, for me, overcoming the fear.
Yeah.
That I found the value in. And the way your experience of time changes in the flip. And when we did the first backflip, I felt like it was, I was very present for that. And I wasn't thinking about anything else. And so it got me very curious about parkour and flips and everything else, because I stopped thinking about my other problems.
Yeah.
So now I go looking for these things, whether it's jumping in the ice bath, or it's led me to meditation and other sort of softer forms of presence training. But the flips take me away from everything else. I can't think about anything else, and I get a rush. Yeah. So I love it.
Yeah. All right, we can move into... I know there's some limitations I don't want to set on this podcast, because I think we could open up and just unleash, and I want to go wherever we go with this. So let's open it up. There's a few things that we've discussed, off camera, and I feel like that's like your most genuine version of yourself. So like we're talking about this transition, right? So you've been in this traditional, law firm, and you've started a law firm, you're ultra successful, you've had the nice house, you've had the nice car, the new tech, everything. You've had the life that we kind of all dream of, and now you're transitioning, and you want to move further into like your movement practice and the center, and bringing the breath and moving into this whole space. And I feel like up here, far north Queensland, there's not a huge community for that sort of stuff up here at the moment. So you kind of have some plans to start a business. I really believe this is the best way to sort of manifest it. Let's say it out loud. Like, what's the future
absolutely.
look like for you?
Yeah, well, next year...
I'll just we have Aaron's beautiful girlfriend, Mel, behind the camera as well. You probably saw her in some of the footage. And this is a joint venture that they're...
It is.
Yeah.
Well, we're at a point now where, for the last 4 years, we've been building these skills and working in these modalities that have brought a lot of relief to our suffering, and a lot of excitement and a lot of passion, and that childlike quality that people see in me has come through practicing these art forms. So I'm at a point now where I think it's really important that if you're 38 years old, you're not an old guy, you're a young pup, and it's probably good to, for anybody of any age group, to look at these things. And I now want to share these things with people because they've brought a lot of relief to me. So movement, meditation, breath work, that's a new direction for me. And I'm pivoting from my life as a lawyer and starting to share these things with other people in partnership with my beautiful girlfriend Mel behind the camera. So we're super excited to do that because we've walked the corporate path and fallen into most of the traps that come with that, not just the materialism, but the damage to relationships and the suffering that comes from overworking and being confined to a desk and a box in an artificial environment. So these things have helped us so much, and we're ready to now start sharing those. And that's not just us teaching, it's bringing high quality teachers to the region so that people here and elsewhere can have access to that knowledge and these modalities that can really help you have a lot of fun, get in shape, and but also find a bit of peace in your life.
I'll interrupt there because I think it's important to note that, because we've had these discussions, it's not, I don't believe that you guys believe that the corporate life or hustle is necessarily a bad thing. And what I like about what you guys are doing is that you're not getting out of it to just throw it away. You actually, from the discussions we had, you want to actually introduce this into a corporate zone, right? Like, one of the goals you have is to actually switch this back over and introduce these to the corporate space to help people within that. So it's not that it's inherently bad to be doing these things and that you're not proud of the career that you've had. It's that you just have, it has the side effects have caused some trauma in your life, and you've found something that has helped yourself get through that, and you want to actually give back to that space. Is that accurate?
That's right. And so to premise this, I had your fairly standard tough run into law with some complete, psycho, high achieving bosses with sociopathic tendencies, some nut jobs, and some super competitive co-workers and all of that. But for the last 10 years, I've run my own practice, which I've refined to a balance of only working 4 days a week, so I can work on my movement practice and also focus on my relationship with my girlfriend. And I'm a dad of 2. Mel has 3 kids, so we've got 5 kids, as well as running a law practice and having a movement and self-care practice. So we've got a really good balance. It's still jam-packed full of stuff, but now it's time for us to start helping other people that are in that high impact zone, other corporates and other professionals that are hurting. And because we talk their lingo and we've been there and can relate to them, we'd really love to introduce parkour to lawyers. Or other movement modalities or meditation or anything that's going to help people reconnect with themselves, and instead of be the boring parent drinking in the corner at the barbecue, you're doing handstands with the kids on the lawn and having fun and engaging and bringing that play back into your life, even though you might be a really boring accountant by day. There's no reason why you can't bring this stuff into your life. And curiously, it wasn't until I had kids and that my movement game really took off, and it was after I couldn't get to the gym anymore that I needed something I could do at home and do on my lawn or while the kids were there. And so I looked for modalities that didn't need much stuff, and used the environments around me, and that's how it all began for me. And I got fitter than ever, because I wasn't the guy that just went to the Globo gym 2 or 3 times a week anymore. I was the guy that was doing something every day, whether it was doing some handstands, some flips, or whatever it was. And it just, over a few years, you get this compounding snowball effect. So I've learned a lot through that, and now we're at a point where we really want to share it with other people, to pass on that those good vibes, and it makes you feel good. So we almost feel like it's a duty to share it. So that's where we're at.
Once again, if you're watching the video portion of this podcast, then I'm going to put some clips of Aaron doing some epic stuff here. What does your training look like currently? I know you love your movement, your handstands. You've got an epic setup downstairs of some weights, and you've got your Wim Hof stuff as well. So how does your current training look like?
I still love training at home or on the beach or in the park. So I love keeping it simple with not much equipment. So I'm really into body weight stuff, calisthenics, a pull-up bar, some rings. That's all I really need. I love handstands, hand balancing. At the moment, I've been doing jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a couple of years, about 3 years. So I'm a blue belt at the moment, so I'll do that a couple of times a week in my lunch break at the office, in between law stuff. So I love really anything that you don't need much stuff for.
Yeah.
And mobility's been a huge one for me because that's where I was really limited when I started. I had a bit of strength from, previous sort of just your regular bodybuilding type stuff like many years ago.
Yeah.
So from sitting at a desk for so long, you'll find that your overhead mobility is quite terrible. Your hips are terrible. Your hammies are off. So mobility's been a huge focus for me.
Yeah.
I'll train. I don't really have a really strict program, but I try to do something every day.
Yeah.
And I love to do a bit of mobility every day and a bit of strength work every day. Jiu-jitsu a couple of times a week. Go for a hike on the weekends. Get a wave if there's waves.
Yeah.
And just keep it like that. I tend to have projects.
Yeah.
So at the moment I'm working on my I'm working towards a Stalder press.
Yeah. Stalder.
So it's pretty advanced hand balancing move.
Yeah.
And that's going to take me some time, but I'll blast it out for 6 weeks and do some drills towards that, and then I'll see how far I get, and sometimes I'll pivot and do something else for a bit, and then I'll come back to that. I've just gone through a one-arm pull-up phase on the rings, doing some one-arm pull-ups.
Yeah. Did you end up getting one?
Yeah, I'm getting my chin to the bottom of the ring.
What?
On both arms.
One arm?
Yeah.
It's like eccentric, like up?
Up, yep.
What?
Yep.
I've been working on them for a while.
Yeah.
Can't pull from the thoracic. Like, I'm still at thoracic, like...
Yeah.
No strength from that at all.
Well, it's taken me a few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've unlocked the pull up, one arm pull ups, to chin to the bottom part of the ring.
Yeah.
The goal is to to kiss the top side of the ring.
Okay, so it's not far enough.
It's not a pass yet. So yeah, but I'll concentrate on things for a patch.
Yeah.
And then I'll pivot and do something else for patch.
Yeah.
But I'm always doing something. Mm-hmm. And occasionally you get injured or you have little strains or little sprains. But so you've got to, maybe your arm's a bit fatigued from doing a lot of that stuff. I'll pivot and do something with the legs for a while. So I think it's good to have projects.
Yeah.
And you stay variety and you stay interested.
All right. So I feel like to get to the raw of who Aaron is as a person, there's some epic stories there. And there was... All of this is great in a sense of there's been a transition. And I feel like it's on the tip of everyone's tongue right now. There's a lot of talk about it. Like there was some pretty big events that led to you sort of having your awakening, as to say, like, is it something you'd like to go into? I mean...
Yeah. Well, it's been a bit of a...
Oh... There's a gecko on the window. Right?
Look out.
Yeah, straight as you start.
You're in Queensland. For sure. You have these pivotal moments. So there's been a few key moments, but you probably, if I can start you from just prior to the breakdown of my marriage, after having 2 children, was pretty heavy, and I had a problem with alcohol for a while, which was quite heavy, and it sort of wrapped up with we nearly had a car accident as a result of me being in a pretty hungover state, and it really put my family at considerable risk through stupidity and inability to control my anger and my emotions. And I was self-medicating with large quantities of alcohol, and reached a point where I couldn't really self-regulate properly. And I kind of had my rock bottom moment there, where thankfully everyone was okay and the car was off the side of the road this day, and my family, my 2 children, got them out of the car, and everybody got off to safety, and while I waited for the tow truck, the police came and had to block the road off because my car was down the embankment and we had to get it towed up. And while I waited for the tow truck, I really just hit a moment where I just felt like a complete loser, and I'd risk everyone for that, and because I was I couldn't control myself, the way it all unfolded, and I just ended up just crying, and just at that moment I was like, I'm not drinking, and through that came a period of sobriety where I'm turning my life around. This sucks. And as I got clearer, I needed something else to treat my anger. I actually went to get some help. I spoke to a psychologist, and she said, look, why don't you try meditation? So I took a course with a transcendental meditation teacher. I read a book by Russell Brand, who was recovered,
I've read it. Yeah, it's
an
great.
addict. And, he did transcendental meditation. So off I went, and I found a teacher who I did a ceremony with her. I was up there doing a Hindi ceremony. She's singing in Sanskrit, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I was having an out-of-body moment, seeing myself. This is this lady's house, locally. I thought I'd be in a temple with monks, but it's like this suburban lady giving me my mantra and singing in Sanskrit. But that was like a real turning point, because I had something then to train with, and work through these emotional problems that I had. I'd been putting under a carpet and just treating with liquor. So ignoring a lot of stuff. Through that clarity came some pretty major decisions, and eventually led to a separation from my family and my children, which was very hard. Following on from that, I still needed some answers. So I made the journey to Costa Rica, where I went to a life advancement center called Rhythmia, and they specialize in ayahuasca, the plant medicine. And for anybody that doesn't know, the shaman over there take two particular vines. It's grown in the Amazon jungle, and they mix it. These two particular plants, when you mix together and brew up, creates a potent psychedelic that more or less blasts you into another
space,
another dimension. And it was done in a setting for healing purposes. So they brew it up, and they administered. They gave it to us with a bunch of people, maybe 20 people, with shaman in a controlled environment, designed purely for working through trauma. And there were 4 ceremonies back to back, and each night over 4 nights, where you're more or less tripping for 4 nights in a row. They give you a bucket and to vomit in, and a roll of toilet paper, because you'll probably shit your pants, and a mattress to lay on, and you basically the shaman is singing these Spanish Icaros, and they let you do the work, and away you go into your own mind and into this dream space, and start processing your stuff. And I found that tremendously healing, and I got a lot of answers out of that. And one of the beautiful outcomes of that was, firstly, to reconnect with my own soul, which was a beautiful moment. And also, I just met my girlfriend Mel at the time, and through that, I more or less was shown a future with her, and realized I was in love. Not just with myself, but with her, and this sort of was the start of our relationship, and it just gave me the confidence and the peace to come back and really rip in and review my life and change a few things, and that's when the movement and meditation and breath work all kicked up a gear. So it was a super profound experience, and that's kind of how I got there and through some of that stuff. A little bit extreme,
Yeah.
but I kind of needed it.
Yeah. Then that's the thing, like, definitely not trying to play like a doctor on the internet or suggest that anyone goes through this journey. You know, definitely in certain places in America, they're actually legalizing some of these types of things, in Mexico, all these types of places, and definitely seek out, you know, professional advice before you go through any of these things. But it's definitely through the conversations that we've had, there was a method to the madness, right? Like, it's definitely led you to somewhere, a sense of personal growth that you didn't have, or opened you up to things that you weren't as open to prior. And I mean, what were the changes that you experienced through this? You know, like, because I mean, we've spoken before about like the perspective changes and like, like, I mean, how do you?
Yeah.
And it's something I've never done, and I've definitely thought of prior before. And I mean, yeah, how did you readapt into the world after having that experience?
Well, I think what really helped me was having some experience with meditation going in. Helped me have the ability to stay calm and have a place where I could go when the psychedelic kicked in, when the medicine kicks in, and away you go, and these visions can take you anywhere. And one of the visions that I can share is it's so real when you're in this world. So physically, I'm laying on a mattress in Costa Rica.
Like, lay that out, because like, it's like you've literally just showed up at this place, right, on the other side of the world. You've booked it off the internet, I believe.
I booked it on the internet. I flew over there. I didn't know anyone. I'm alone. You know, I'm processing heavy stuff, and you rock up at this center and meet everybody, and there's no alcohol, no sex, no Wi-Fi. It's plant-based diet. I did a bit of sort of a dieta, they call it, which is a diet to prepare yourself for it, because one of the side effects of ingesting this green sludge, which is the brew that the shaman gives you, is you purge.
Yeah.
And the purge comes in the form of the back end.
Yeah.
Or you could vomit, and the cleaner you are, the easier the purge. That's the theory.
Yeah.
So you're on a mattress, there's a toilet nearby, you got a bucket in case you spew, and a roll of toilet paper in case you poo. And you're physically laying down on a mattress, but a lot of the work goes on in the inner recesses of your mind in this vision world. And the vision I had was I've woken up as this little boy. I was, 6 or 7 years old, blonde little boy in a meadow with long green grass and trees. And there was a presence behind me, and I couldn't really make it out or see it, but I knew it was Mama Ayahuasca, and they talk about this grandmother that's there, and that's the spirit of the medicine. And I start showing off for her. I start doing cartwheels and handstands and being this little cheeky Peter Pan guy. And
yes, how good is that? That is like Peter Pan there.
And
I just saw Peter Pan.
I'm doing this Peter Pan routine, right?
You've got the shadow. Yeah.
Because I love showing off, and so I'm doing this stuff, and then I get this this guilt and shame for being a show off. Oh no, you're a, and the thought that hit me was no, don't be a narcissistic, egotistical person. Shut it down.
Mama Ayahuasca, you gotta
close that off. And then Mama Ayahuasca just there wasn't any verbal dialogue, but she basically somehow still talking to me. It's really hard to describe in language, but she rubs me on the head and gives me this reassurance that no, this is you. Like, this is your inner child. Let it out. And she gives me this tap on the bum and play, show me what you can do. And I just had this permission all of a sudden to let that inner child out again. And it changed me forever, because it's something that I'd almost being ashamed of, or like, oh no, that's, you're a show off, or you're a you just want attention, and it had become associated to narcissism or a negative thing. And then all of a sudden I had permission to do it, and I'm like, you know what? If it makes people happy and smile, and I'm gonna be this Peter Pan guy, like that's me.
Yeah.
And so I was able to just do me.
Yeah.
And that was one of the huge healing lessons from it, where you don't have to hold back or worry, and you know, it's not for everyone, and if people enjoy my company, great. If not, that's okay too. But I just want to be happy in myself, and if that's fun for others, great.
Yeah. But I feel like we call it in our society Peter Pan syndrome, right? And it has a negative context to it. It's like an adult that has the fear of growing up, and it manifests in a way of like childish activities and but I feel like you've definitely embraced that, right? And there's a healthy way to do it. Like, how do you think that looks? Like, because it's obviously, I feel like it's an intentional thing. Like, you have some sort of awareness that you navigate through the world in that way. Like, yeah, like how does that look for someone who wants to, who maybe, you know, like myself, like I'm 31, I just turned 31 last week, and the people that I look up to in the world are the 60-year-olds that have this like this giggle of like, they come from this place of like, they just get it, you know, and they understand the world, they're stoic, but then they know how to have fun, and like I want to live intentionally in that way, and I feel like you're kind of on that path. So how does that look?
Well, and I think it's come through experience, and you know, through that whole with me ayahuasca experience, what was shown to me was that at around 5 or 6 years old, for most of us, up until that point in life, we're very present. You're just you. You are the soul. The ego hasn't quite formed yet. Around 5 or 6 years old, it's essential that you split and you create this ego structure, this character that will serve you in the world, because you start to leave. You know, for me, it was getting sent off to school and leaving my mother's care, and out you go into the world. How do I survive out there? You need an identity, and so you start to build it. And maybe you're the good kid at school, or maybe you're the naughty kid at school, or maybe you're the athlete, or maybe you're the scholar, and away you go, and you start building this character. And it's actually a construct that you're building and adding to. And after a while, like for me, sort of in my mid-20s, felt very lost at one point, and I'm thinking, I'm completely lost, because I'd built Lawyer Aaron, and I'd emulated the seniors, the partners that were at the other end of my career path. I start to copy them. So I take on their clothing, I take on their look there, because you emulate your sort of where you want to go. And I'm building this character. But for me, after a while, I realized I didn't really connect with the character anymore. And I'd gotten quite far away from the child that I started off on. And it wasn't until my mid-30s when some of these traumatic events happened to me that, and going in search for something, I need to heal. I'm looking for something, and you start searching the world. You start traveling. You start, where is it? Where is this thing that's going to bring me this relief, this peace? And what it really is, it's yourself. It's your soul, or this little kid, this inner child that was there at the start, that you split from at 5 or 6. And I've been coming back to that guy. And I think I mentioned to you yesterday, I keep a photograph of 5-year-old me
Yeah.
before my split on
Yeah.
my phone, so that every day I look at this little guy and I make a promise to him that I'm going to honor him and that I'm going to choose him over this egoic character that I created to survive in the world. And at this point in my life, that guy only serves me so much. And now I'm going back and I'm remembering that inner kid, and he likes to climb trees and play in the waves and flip and have fun. And I want that in my life because it brings me a lot of joy. And Aaron, the lawyer at the computer for 14 hours a day, doesn't bring me a lot of joy. So that's the direction, and that's how I've come back to it. So that's been my process.
Look, man. Yeah. I mean, we could. Yeah. I feel like. Yeah. We're gonna leave it there because we could go onto so many tangents. But I definitely got to the root of what I would like to discuss in this. And thank you so much for sharing all of that with me.
You're
and
welcome.
Whoever it is that ends up watching this podcast. Whatever you're doing, it's working, man. Your energy is infectious. I want to be around it. So many people want to be around it, and I really believe like all these ventures that you're going to start are going to work.
Thank
and
you.
You're going to, hopefully this podcast will be looked back at in like 2 to 3 years, and you're going to just like, I know you're going to tick off all of those goals that you have.
Thank you. I loved having you, and yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
If anyone wants to find you on the interwebs,
Yes.
how will they do that?
Instagram, my current handle is agrifforama.
Hey, Griffith, spell that out.
Agriforama, Agrifforama. Yeah, on the gram. Yeah, that's probably the best place to find me at the moment.
Awesome. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Shaun Wood podcast. I am releasing these 2 to 3 times a week. I hope you're enjoying them. That was an abrupt ending. Thank you for listening.
Thank
Peace.
you. Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet.
All good?
Yeah, just knock it off.